Good evening, Kuya Will. You can just call me Andrei. I'm 24 years old, a graphic designer from Pasig. I want to share the story of my life, one that, until now, I still carry the weight of. I hope those like me, who have lost their way in love, will listen. It all started with a simple friendship with Caleb. Caleb was the kind of man you wouldn't notice at first, but as time passed, he became someone you could never forget. Quiet, caring, generous. We first crossed paths back in college. He was my blockmate. We both loved art, so we grew close easily. Caleb became my anchor in many things. Whenever I had family problems, he was there. When I missed deadlines, he pushed me to get back up. Until one night came. It was our graduation party. We were both drunk. The surroundings were loud, but it felt like it was just the two of us talking. He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something in his eyes, something I had long felt, but couldn't define. Love. Andrei, I like you. I don't know if it was the alcohol or the feelings I had long kept hidden, but I kissed him. That's where it all began. At first, there was no label, no serious talk, but eventually, it became clear to both of us. We were together. For 2 years, Caleb and I were happy, content, at peace. He was the first man I truly loved, and I thought he would be the last. But as our relationship deepened, Miggy arrived. Miggy was a client at our office, a marketing consultant I often had meetings with. He spoke fast, always smiling, like sunshine in the morning, always bringing light. One day, he invited me to an out-of-town project in Baguio. A business trip, he said. But in truth, it was the start of something deeper between us. We were at an events place supervising a launch. After work, Miggy suggested we take a walk. It was nighttime, cold, and the city had its own quiet charm. We ended up at a small resto, had a few drinks. That's where the conversation began. "Don't you have a partner?" he asked, sipping hot coffee. "I do," I answered, but with hesitation. Because even though I did, why did it feel like there was still an emptiness? He looked at me and smiled. "Me too. But you know that feeling where, even with someone, it still doesn't feel like enough?" I nodded. And in that moment, it was like we understood each other without words. In the silence of Baguio, in the cold wind, two hearts longing for warmth found each other. He took me to the transient house he was staying in. The night was quiet, but my heartbeat was loud. I couldn't deny what I felt anymore. And there, the unthinkable happened. We kissed, slowly shed our inhibitions, until our bodies pressed together completely. There was hesitation at first, but desire and long-suppressed emotions took over. Moans and whispers filled the four corners of that room. With every kiss, every movement, I felt a mix of lust and tenderness wrapping around us. That night was surrender, betrayal, forgetting. And between the pillows and the cold Baguio air, I crossed a line I should never have crossed. When we returned to Manila, I tried to go back to normal, to Caleb, to our old world. But something had changed. Me, my heart. After coming back from Baguio, I could barely look Caleb in the eye. He hugged me tightly and whispered, "I missed you." I smiled, but there was pain in my chest. Because while I held him, the memory of Miggy's touch was still fresh on my skin. I tried to act normal, waking up early, cooking Caleb's favorite meals, joking around, laughing. But no matter what I did, my heart beat differently. And I couldn't understand why my feelings for Miggy only grew stronger. We started texting more often. If before it was just about work, now there was affection mixed in. "Take care always, okay? I missed you earlier." I'm in a meeting, but I'm still thinking of you. And me, Kuya Will. Like a fool, I was falling again. I didn't know if I just liked the thrill or if I really wanted him. But one thing was sure. This was wrong. But I didn't stop. Weeks passed, and Miggy and I intentionally met at a coffee shop in Mandaluyong. He said, "I just wanted to see you, even for a moment." And in that moment, even surrounded by people, it felt like we were the only ones talking. "How are things with Caleb?" he asked, watching me. "They're okay," I answered weakly. But then he held my hand under the table. "Andrei, I'm not forcing you, but I want you to know. I like you. I don't know how or when it started, but I do." I couldn't answer. My heart was in chaos, but I didn't pull my hand away. I let it stay in his grasp. From then on, the real betrayal began. There were nights I'd say I was working overtime, but in truth, I was with Miggy, sometimes at his condo, sometimes in a hotel, sometimes even in his car while it rained. It felt like we were the only two people in the world, floating in pleasure but drowning in guilt. I loved Caleb, yes, but whenever I was with Miggy, I felt a part of me come alive, like I was the Andrei who was eager to love again, eager to be loved. Once, while lying in bed with Miggy, he looked at me and asked, "Andrei, if Caleb weren't in the picture, would you choose me?" I didn't answer, and that's when I realized, Kuya Will, I was the real cheater. As my secret relationship with Miggy deepened, my bond with Caleb grew colder. I didn't notice it at first, but Caleb, he felt the change. "Are you okay?" he asked one night as we ate dinner together. "Just tired from work," I lied. "You're always tired, Andrei. Always distant, like you're somewhere far away." I just nodded. I couldn't look him in the eye. I couldn't admit it. In our 2 years together, this was the first time I saw him like this, worried. But even as he worried, he never pressed too hard. He trusted me. He loved me. And that only made the guilt worse, because I was betraying him. Meanwhile, Miggy became more demanding, more possessive. "Why can't you leave now?" he'd ask. "Caleb's here," I'd answer. "And what about me? When will you choose me completely?" "It's not that easy. But you're already doing it, aren't you? What's the difference?" I couldn't answer, because he was right. I was already betraying Caleb, but I also couldn't just throw away the 2 years Caleb and I had. It wasn't just a relationship. He had become my family, my home. Then one day, Caleb texted me, "I'll be out of town tomorrow, 2 nights. Take care always. Love you." And I don't know what demon entered my mind, but I immediately told Miggy, "Caleb's gone. Come over." And he did. To our condo, to our bed. It was a night of heat and sin. I don't know what came over me, but with every kiss from Miggy, with every moan and movement between us, I felt fear. But temptation still won. "I wish we could always be like this," Miggy whispered, holding me afterward. But before I could answer, a sound shattered the night silence. The bedroom door slowly opened, and the next scene turned my world upside down. Caleb was standing there, holding his key, and on his face, I didn't see anger, just a completely shattered heart. "Andrei," he whispered, voice trembling. I couldn't move. Miggy immediately ran to the bathroom, but it was too late. Caleb saw everything. Me, naked, still sprawled on the messy sheets, the scent of kisses and sin still lingering in the air. He didn't speak, didn't shout, No slaps, no curses. He just walked up to me, looked me in the eye, and whispered, "I thought I was the only one." And then he left. As the door closed, it felt like a part of my heart disappeared with it. Kuya Will, I don't know how to continue my story, but that night, when Caleb caught us, it was like cold water had been poured over me. Everything I feared had happened. I was left staring blankly at the bed. The scent of Miggy, the stickiness of the night, the moans that had once brought me joy, now felt like lashes on my conscience. When Caleb walked out that door, it was like he closed the world we shared, and I was left in the ruins. "Will he come back?" Miggy asked as he dressed, voice shaking. "I don't know," I whispered. Miggy left, and I just sat on the floor all night. No tears, no anger. The only question in my mind, what have I done? The next day, Caleb didn't return. His things were gone. The pictures on the walls, gone. It was like he erased every trace of himself from the condo. I called. No answer. I messaged him. "Please, Caleb, talk to me." But no reply. For days, I was lost. I went to work but felt empty. "Miggy?" He called, checked up on me. But I couldn't answer, because even I couldn't face anymore. A week passed. One night, a letter arrived at my door. From Caleb. Inside was just one thing. A USB. When I played the video, I saw Caleb sitting on our old couch. "Andrei," he began. "If you're watching this, you've probably read my text. That I can't come back. You know, we spent 2 years together. We weren't perfect, but I chose to love you every day. I chose to understand your moods, your insecurities, your confusion. I thought that would be enough to make you stay. But it wasn't, because there's something missing in you that no amount of my love could fill. It hurts, Andrei, so much. But I'm not angry, because no matter how much pain you caused, I still loved you." That's when I finally broke down, Kuya Will. After all my mistakes, he was the one apologizing. He was the one offering understanding despite everything. I don't want to be the reason you can't find yourself. But before you love again, make sure you're whole. Because if you're not, you'll just keep breaking people who could have been whole with you. Goodbye, Andrei. Thank you for the love. This is where I stop. Kuya Will. In the weeks that followed, I decided I had to pick myself up. I couldn't stay chained to the past, to my mistakes, to the pain I caused. Even though Caleb had left me and Miggy was still there, I knew I had to move forward, even if my heart wasn't whole. I tried to rebuild myself. I accepted Miggy as part of my life. On the days we were together, I learned to forgive myself. But despite all that, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. A space in my heart that Miggy couldn't fill. And that space belonged to Caleb. No matter how much I loved Miggy, Caleb was still there. The memory of a love that once felt perfect. When I was with Miggy, I felt happy, but with a lingering sadness. Like all my joy depended on forgiving Miggy, but deep down, I still couldn't forget Caleb. Weeks passed, and Miggy and I did simple things together, holding hands at the mall, drinking coffee. But every time I looked at him, memories of Caleb surfaced. I didn't know what to feel, happiness or regret. I forced myself to move forward, but my heart still clung to the past. Because of that, I noticed a change in myself. I was helping Miggy, but my heart still had a place for Caleb. And despite everything, I knew I wasn't whole yet. So I kept trying to be okay. Maybe for Miggy, but I couldn't deny. Caleb still owned my heart. Kuya Will, in the end, I decided to truly move on. With Miggy, I kept proving to myself that I could be happy again, even if part of my heart still belonged to Caleb. Slowly, my life stabilized. I returned to work with focus. Sometimes, Miggy and I would go out for coffee, hang out at the park, or watch movies. It felt like he was giving me new hope. But one night, I came home tired from work. It was drizzling. As I entered the condo lobby, I froze. Under the yellow light of the reception area, I saw Miggy, standing, with someone, a man I didn't know. Handsome, tall, wearing a fitted polo, holding Miggy's umbrella. I thought it was just a friend, but before I could approach, I saw the unexpected. They kissed. Not a simple peck, a hungry, eager kiss. I froze. I didn't know whether to approach or turn away, but my body refused to move, like a statue in the middle of the lobby. Behind me, the door opened. The guard. But I didn't react. When Miggy turned and saw me staring, he immediately pulled back. He froze, but it was too late. The dream I had built with him shattered. I turned away, silent, went straight to the elevator. As I rode up, I couldn't stop the tears. I thought I was the one who could hurt others. But now, I was the one left behind. I was the one betrayed. Once again, I was back at the beginning. Kuya Will, I thought my story with Caleb was over. But maybe this was karma coming back to me. Because in the time I chose to chase something new, I lost everything. Caleb was gone. And now, Miggy too. For weeks, I was like a ghost in my own life. Going to work but feeling nothing. Eating but tasting nothing. Coming home to a house that felt like a cave of memories. Once, while sitting on the old couch Caleb and I used to share, I held our old sketch pad. Inside were our drawings, plans for the future, ideas for dream projects that never happened. Suddenly I cried, the kind of crying you can't control, where all the pain, regret, and unspoken words pour out. What have I done? I kept asking. I had no answer. Until one day, I woke up with no one waiting. No texts, no missed calls. And that's when I realized it was truly over. That's when the slow change began. Little by little, I fixed myself. Read self-help books. Started jogging at dawn. With every step, it felt like I was shedding the weight in my chest. Healing isn't easy, Kuya Will, especially when you're the one holding the knife that wounded you. But I chose not to stay in the pain. Because in the end, I had to be the one to rise. I had to learn to love again. Not just others, but myself. Now, I'm alone. No Caleb, no Miggy, but there's Andrei. And finally, I'm getting to know myself again. The Andrei who doesn't need validation from others to feel worthy. Kuya Will, thank you for listening to my story. I hope others like me learn. Before we seek love from others, we must first make sure we're whole. Because if we're not, we'll easily break and easily hurt others too. Andrei, thank you for the courage to share your story. It's not easy to admit your mistakes, especially when you know you're the reason the people you loved were broken. In every story of betrayal, two people are shattered. The one who was betrayed and the one who betrayed. And sometimes, the wound of guilt lasts longer than the pain of heartbreak. But I'm glad because, at the end of your story, I saw the most important lesson: self-love. Because if you can't stand by your own feelings, it's hard to trust the love others give you. To those listening tonight, may Andrei's story serve as a reminder. The heart is not a toy, and you can't play with the feelings of someone who loved you completely. In the end, I'm happy that even when you were broken, you chose to rebuild yourself. And I believe that in the right time, someone will come who can accept you, not as perfect, but as true. Thank you, Andrei. And hopefully, in your next story, it'll be about a love you don't have to fight for in the wrong way, but a love you find because you're finally whole. This is Kuya Will. Until the next heart story. Good night. If Andrei's story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt stories. Thank you for listening.